a new competitor to Waymo when it comes to self-driving cars, self-driving ride shares, and self-driving taxis just appeared in Las Vegas. And it's called Zoox. You can see right here, Amazon's Zoox Robotaxi goes live in Las Vegas. This is the way it looks. Kind of like a funky layout, I'm not gonna lie. And what's interesting about this, which is huge, this is truly the first ever self-driving vehicle built from the ground up. Because in case you didn't know, Waymo, which I've done a bunch of videos about, is technically a remixed, if I call it like that, Jaguar I-Pace. So they take the existing vehicle, then transform it. This is built from the ground up, which is actually a pretty big deal. Like, things are getting heated, because not only do we have the Uber versus Lyft battle, then not only do we have the battle of Uber and Lyft versus Waymo, or human drivers versus AI drivers, or humans versus robots, but now we have robots versus other robots. So it's getting interesting. You can see right here that Amazon Zoox autonomous taxi service has officially started offering public rides, and its first market is Las Vegas. I am kind of curious as to why Vegas specifically. Like, I almost want to go to Vegas just to take one of these. Honestly, maybe I should, just as like a fun YouTube video. But like I said, it's an important milestone for the robotaxi industry as the odd-shaped driverless pod, looking like that. Let me see if I can blow it up or zoom in. Can I? Yeah, looks like this. Kind of trippy, but kind of cool. Like, it's kind of funky. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like the design. Let me know what you think, though. But as I said, it's the world's first purpose-built robotaxi that offers fully autonomous ride-hailing services. Right now, the service area is pretty small. I actually did download the app. I mean, I can't use it because I'm in LA, but it's pretty small. But it's basically on and around the Strip, with customers having to access free rides. With the company's smartphone app. Paid rides will become available after the company gets all the necessary regulatory approvals, which is expected to happen in the following months. And what's interesting, and this is where things get really big now, where I can see this being like ahead of its time or very futuristic, is fast pickup. The pickups and drop-offs in Las Vegas happen at designated ride-hail zones, and it's steering wheelless vehicles. And Waymos, which I've talked about a lot of times on this channel. I did a video about my first ever Waymo ride, almost like a vlog. You see the steering wheel turn. So it's like you're in a car, like an actual car, and then it drives around. But I remember being in the Waymo being like, why do you need the steering wheel? Like, it's kind of trippy to see it move, but why do you need it? And they're saying here, why do you need it? It's a self-driving car. It's an autonomous vehicle. And they do have designated ride-hail zones. I think that's more of a programming thing for Las Vegas right now, just to be like, okay, how do we have these rides exist and happen that make it easier for the Zoox to happen? So you can't take it from anywhere, right? The company partnered with several destinations, including Resorts Las Vegas, Topgolf, and Area 51, which, by the way, if you ever go to Vegas, I've been in Vegas a lot. I've actually done videos with every day, Vegas nightclub, day club, and after hours club. I've made, I think, probably over 100 videos on my vlog channel about Las Vegas. Go to Area 51. By far my number one suggestion, forget the Strip. Downtown Vegas or Fremont Street is pretty awesome, but if there's one spot that I'm like, dude, you have to check this out, Area 51, and to be more specific, Omega Mart. Meow Wolf Omega Mart, just trust me. Anyway, you can see here, the Zoox will help riders use a smartphone app and answer questions and deliver them around. So right now they have a fleet of roughly 50 robotaxis, more on the way though, as the Amazon-owned company opened up its first production facility in the United States. And they're looking to build, as you can see, 10,000 robotaxis annually. Now, in addition, San Francisco is next on the list. That makes sense, San Fran. I'm hoping LA is third because I'd love to take this just to try it out, but kind of interesting. They are saying though Austin and Miami are set to follow after San Francisco. Maybe they're like, LA's too crazy, the roads here are too wild, so Austin and Miami seem like safer next options, and they're like, all right, then we'll approach the LA traffic and the chaos that is driving in LA. But again, this is the big thing. Compared to Waymo's and Tesla's robotaxis, Amazon Zoox purpose-built autonomous taxi does not have pedals or a steering wheel. It's just a bunch of opposing bench seats. So it's kind of weird that you're facing each other like this, almost as if you're in like a booth or like a gondola kind of thing. and sliding doors on both sides and a couple of screens. The electric pods use a comprehensive suite of sensors to navigate, including LiDAR, radar, and cameras, similar to Waymo's system, but different than Tesla's vision-only approach, which relies exclusively on cameras. Now, first off, I want to say that if you're in Vegas, definitely try this out. I'd be kind of curious. I do like the design of the car. I have seen some photos of inside of it. Looks pretty cool. I do think it's a cool idea. It almost reminds me as if you took like a bus and just chopped off like a middle section of the bus with like seats facing each other. You've probably seen this in some buses where there's like one section of the bus where seats are facing each other, sometimes with like a table in the middle. That's what it looks like, and that's what it seems like as you saw from the picture. Here's my big thing though, and I've talked about this a lot in a lot of videos, and it's gotten more and more difficult for me to be, for me not to be pessimistic or for me to be too harshly honest, is like I said in the beginning of this video, you know, back in the day, it was like Uber versus Lyft, or maybe even take a step back. Back in the day, it was Uber and Lyft versus taxis, right? And then Uber and Lyft won. Then it kind of really became Uber versus Lyft. There were some other things that popped up throughout the years, Fasten, Rides, Empower, a few other rideshare companies, but truly we have Uber versus Lyft. And then things started transitioning now, I think especially in 2025, where things really started to take off, is Uber and Lyft versus Waymo. But I think as a big meta perspective, we have human drivers now versus AI, human versus robot, human versus artificial intelligence, human drivers versus self-driving cars. Now though, which I feel like is a big sign of the future, and this is both, I guess, a way to look at it from a ride-sharing, transportation, taxi-like perspective, but also, you know, a future perspective for everything. And it's now the big thing is robots versus robots, right? I'm thinking about it. Right now, if you look at the AI music world, which is something I know a lot about, especially as a musician, as an electronic musician and a producer, I've actually done a lot of videos about this on my music channel on YouTube, because I have 5 different YouTube channels, in case you didn't know. The big ones are Suno versus Udio. So you have now competing companies arguing that their algorithm, their AI is better than this AI. This self-driving car is not better than this self-driving car. And what's interesting is seeing now this kind of competitor pop up that, in my opinion, I hate to say it, I think is a bit smarter than Waymo. It's tough to see. We'll have to see what happens when it comes to the actual analytics. Because right now, like I mentioned in some videos, when it comes to Waymo, the self-driving car, it's been shown to be light years smarter, better, faster, and safer than human drivers. Less traffic violations, less accidents, less injuries when those accidents do happen, and a lot more. It is right now, statistically speaking, safer to take a Waymo than to have a human driver. It's safer right now to have a self-driving Waymo than a human driver, whether it's Uber, Lyft, taxi, doesn't matter. With Zoox, I'm kind of curious to see, because as you can imagine with something like this, it's kind of 2 things in one, in a sense. You're looking at the physical hardware, or the engineering of that hardware, and then the software, right? So you're talking about those 2 different things. The hardware looks pretty seamless. There's no steering wheel, which makes sense. Again, like I mentioned, it's the first vehicle to be built from the ground up, with literally the idea in mind of it being a self-driving vehicle from scratch. Not like a Waymo, like I said before, which is the Jaguar I-Pace that basically gets remixed. Although I will say, I did see, and I have seen actually driving around LA and stuff like that a lot. Waymo's looking, I believe, now this may be wrong, but don't quote me, I think it's the 7th generation, I believe. I think the 7th gen Waymo is going to be similar to the Zoox vehicle, which can be almost looking like a mini bus, a very similar style. So I will say Waymo will have something similar to this, I think at some point. They're probably now going to try to speed that up, given the fact that Zoox is now kind of coming out with this. But this is the future we're living in, is that now it's not just about human drivers at all, or humans versus humans versus humans, rideshare versus taxi. Now it's about humans versus self-driving cars. But now it's even deeper than that, where it's like about self-driving car company A versus self-driving car company B, like Waymo versus Zoox or whatever. And then now it's going even deeper than that, where you're now looking at vehicles not just being remixed, as I think is the best way to word it, or kind of re-engineered for it to be self-driving, but also we're now having vehicles built from the ground up. And this is just another big sign, I hate to say it, self-driving cars are here. Self-driving Waymos are here. Self-driving taxis, ride shares, everything. And it's getting bigger and bigger. Now, this, I think, right now is so preliminary. If you are a driver in Las Vegas, should you be worried? I'd actually say no. Right now, at the time of this video, it's very limited, right? As I showed you, very limited amount of them. The designated pickup and drop-off locations are pretty fixed. People have to do walking. There's a lot of things right now that make this more of a commodity, or I might even say a fad or a viral thing. But remember, that's how Waymo started. And things, even in just the past year, when I first started Waymo last year, I think it was in June or July of 2024 is my first Waymo. Things from then have sped up exponentially quick. Very, very fast. And so that's what's happening right now with Zoox. And so it is something I'd say to keep on your radar. San Francisco's next, Austin, Miami. I'm waiting for LA. We'll see. Maybe I'll do a trip to Vegas just to do this. It'd be kind of fun. But that's where we are right now. So it's just something, to keep in mind that for all my human drivers out there, and again, it's tough because, like I said, this channel did start as a rideshare channel. It started as me doing videos about Uber or Lyft, how to make more money. And if you think about it, which is kind of unfortunate, and I know Uber and Lyft's not perfect. I've bashed Uber and Lyft pretty hard on this channel, but it's undeniable that Uber and Lyft has provided literally millions of jobs. People, let's say, need a primary job, which I used to drive for Lyft and Uber both part-time and then full-time. People, like, say, who need side cash. People, like, say, are like, hey, I can only do a job on Friday nights from 8 p.m. to midnight, and that's where Uber and Lyft comes in. Very low barrier to entry. You just use your own vehicle, or you can even rent one. There's a lot of amazing things Uber and Lyft has done when it comes to creating new jobs for people. So the whole self-driving world now that we're in almost for the first time ever a competition between self-driving cars, and Tesla could even jump into this. We'll see. I think Tesla is pretty far behind, but we'll see what happens. You never know. Maybe something happens with Teslas, but this is just something to be aware of, that the self-driving war now has truly begun, which means moving further and further away. If anything, humans versus self-driving cars may now start to be in the distance or in the rear view mirror, to use that analogy. And now the only thing we're seeing as we're looking forward is not that many human drivers anymore. And it's all about the debate of what self-driving car, what self-driving company, and basically which autonomous AI rider company is the best.